this lesson, we'll look at creating stairs by sketching runs. So to start, let's go ahead and create a new project based on the architectural template. Again, we're using the architectural template because two floor plans are already created, level 1 and level 2, and the distance between those levels is 10 feet. And I can illustrate that by looking at my east elevation and zooming in. So to create our stair, let's go back to level 1 for floor plan. Let's go to the Architecture tab, the stair dropdown, and this time let's choose Stair by Sketch. When you choose Stair by Sketch, note the right side of your rivet. You have three options: Run, Boundary, and Riser. Depending on which one you choose, you have different draw tools. First, we're going to create a stair by Run. So Run is selected, and Line is selected in the draw area. So on your screen, simply click a point, zoom in, and start to drag your mouse. Now what you'll note is you're creating a straight run stair, or a U-shaped stair, or an L-shaped stair, depending on where you click. For this example, let's just create a straight run stair. So drag your mouse out beyond the overall length of the stair. It'll calculate how many rises are needed between level 1 and level 2, in this case 18, and then simply just left click. Now, if you drew a component-based stair, the stair would be drawn. But what you see now are boundary lines and riser lines. Boundary lines are in green, riser lines are obviously going across from the boundary. You can actually make a modification now if you wanted to. For example, if I click the boundary line, I could actually warp this, or stretch it, or drag it. So I just click the boundary line, then I click one of the dots, the grips on each end, kind of just drag the actual grip or drag mark vertically. Now I kept it in line with the overall length of the staircase, but you can make a modification of this too. We'll cover it again in modifying stair sketches. Now if you do want a railing, you can click railing on the ribbon. And you can see the railing default type is default and the position is on the treads. Again, we'll cover this in the railing section. Just click OK. Last step is to simply click the green check mark. That finishes the edit mode, creates the straight run stair along with the railings. To view this, let's go to your 3D view. So click the default 3D view, and you now can see your staircase based on sketch. Let's go back to the actual level 1 floor plan. Let's create another staircase based on sketch. I'm just going to pan this one out of the road a little bit. Go to the Architecture tab, Stair dropdown, Stair by Sketch. In this example here, Run is selected, and also Line is selected. So just click any point to start. Drag your mouse until half the risers are created and half are remaining. Once you see that, left click. Now move your mouse vertically. What's asking you now is where do you want to start the second series of the second flight of stairs. In this case, I'm just going to simply click somewhere above this and then start to drag back in the opposite direction. I'm going to drag out beyond this. Once I'm beyond the actual secondary run, go ahead and left click. After you do that, the landing is created between the two and the stair is fully drawn. The boundary lines again exist. You could come in here and modify the boundary line just as I did in the previous exercise. So for example, I could select the boundary line and then drag one of the ends vertically, horizontally, or on a different angle if you choose. Again, we'll cover this in the modify section. Go ahead and click the green check mark. That will actually save the stair along with the railing. To view this in 3D, go to your default 3D view, and you now can see the actual U-shaped staircase that you created by sketch. So the difference here is creating by sketch, you can actually warp or change and modify the boundary conditions, and where you're going to see next, the riser conditions as well, where a component-based sketch is already predefined. Up next, we'll look at creating stairs by sketching boundaries, and also in this lesson, we'll look at creating stairs by sketching boundary and riser lines. So to get started, let's create a new project based on the architectural template. Again, we're using the architectural template because it already has two floor plans created, one for level 1 and one for level 2. The distance between those levels is 10 feet. Now, to create stairs by sketching the boundaries and riser lines, you actually draw the boundary lines and then you create the riser lines within the boundaries. This is very beneficial if you're creating stairs that are non-linear. Let's say stairs that would be in an exterior environment for landscaping or some custom design internally in a home or a building. So for this example, I'm going to change the actual height from level 1 to level 2, that distance of 10 feet. So let's go to your east elevation and double click east. And you'll notice level 2 is at 10 feet. Let's change that to 4 feet. So simply click twice on 10, key in 4 feet, and hit the enter key. That will change the level now distance from level 1 to level 2 to 4 feet. I'm doing this so we don't have to create a lot of risers. Now let's go back to our level 1 and floor plan. And now let's start drawing the stair. Go to the Architecture tab, Stair drop-down, Stair by Sketch. Now, as you saw in the previous exercises, we chose Run as the initial condition for creating our staircase. In this example, we're going to create the boundaries first. So I'm going to select Boundary. Now, when you do, you have a variety of different tools available to draw your boundary lines. We'll first create a basic straight run stair by drawing some boundary lines. So on your screen, go ahead and zoom in a little bit and just click any given point and drag your mouse. Now we're just going to make this horizontal. So drag your mouse out so the line is about a total length of 10 feet, give or take. And after you draw that line segment, hit the escape key. Now go ahead and draw another line segment directly below that. Make the distance between those two 4 feet or near 4 feet. Again, drag that line across so it comes out to about the same distance. Click the point again, hit the escape key to end the actual boundary line. Now you've created the two boundaries. The next step is to create the riser lines in between, which will tell you how many you create. So on the ribbon, choose riser, make sure line is still selected, and we're going to draw the first riser line all the way on the left. So click one of the endpoints on the left, then go across and click the other endpoint. Now let's click the endpoint on the right. Click the endpoint on the top and the endpoint on the bottom. Now we have 5 remaining risers to create. Now there's a couple different methods on how you could do this. This is about 10 feet, so if I made my stairs or my steps about 2 foot apart, I could evenly space these or offset them. For example, I could set my offset value here to be 2 feet. Just key in 2, hit the enter key, and it's 2 feet. Then in the draw area, I could choose pick lines. And then if I hover over my first line that I drew on the left and pick it, you'll notice it offsets a line to the right. Hover over that line, move to the right of it, you have another offset line, and another offset line, and another offset line. Now my calculations are a little off because it actually says I have 1 remaining, so I can go out beyond the actual end, click again, and I've actually created the total number of risers. I'll go ahead and hit escape twice to exit out of the riser command. And what you really need to do next, we should actually tidy this up by dragging the actual boundary line or extending it out to the end of that last riser. After you've done that, simply click the green check mark. And what will happen is the staircase will be created along with the railing. Railings are attached by default since the default was set up. To see this in 3D, go to your default 3D view. You've created a basic straight run stair by sketch by creating the boundary first and the riser second. Now let's make this a little more interesting. Let's do another example, but we'll put in some curves. So let's go back to our level 1 floor plan. Go ahead and pan this staircase over to the left. Go to the stair drop down, choose stair by sketch, click boundary again. And this time I want you to choose start and radius arc. And the distance and the curvature doesn't really matter. Just click a point to start, drag out about, let's say about 7 feet. Click a point and then make a nice little bend in this. And then drag your mouse out again beyond that, maybe up a little bit, say about 9 feet or so. Make a nice little bend in that. Hit the escape key. Now let's start another curve below this. Click a point, drag up, again, doesn't matter exactly where, and then make another curve. Come and then drag your mouse out to the right again, click, and then make another curve off of that. Now, I don't really have tangency turned on or making this tangent. It doesn't really matter in this example for what I'm illustrating. After you have the two continuous boundary lines, hit the escape key twice. Next step is to create your riser lines. Now we're going to do it a little differently. We're not going to use the offset. So go ahead and click riser, click line, and just like we did before, click the first 2 points on the left and point to endpoint, and then do the same to the 2 endpoints on the right. Now we can come back in and create the risers in between. Maybe I'll just move in here a little bit, click a point on one boundary line, drag across, click a point, and yours on the other side of the boundary line. Come a little farther, click on one side, click on the other side, and then here again, click and click. 2 remaining, say we'll put 1 here, and then 1 remaining, I'm going to put 1 here. It's important that your riser lines do touch the boundary lines or the ending boundary lines meet up with the riser lines. You can use extend and trim if you want to in those. Now, the railing will be created, but just to show you, if you wanted to turn the railing off, go to the railing icon all the way to the right of your ribbon, click railing, and click the default drop down and choose none all the way at the bottom, and click OK. Now to create our stairs, providing all of our lines attached, click the green check mark. The stair will actually create. It goes pretty quick because there's no railings that it has to generate for all of the actual rails and balusters. To see this in 3D, go to your 3D view, zoom out, and you'll actually notice our staircase created based on the boundaries we drew and the riser lines we created. Again, you can attach the railings to that by turning on railings, or we can attach the railings after the fact. You can also change your stair type by modifying the stair. Up next, in this lesson, we'll look at creating spiral staircases by sketching. So to start, let's create a new project based on the architectural template. We're using the architectural template again because it already has 2 floor plans created, level 1 and level 2, and the distance between those floor plans is 10 feet. Now illustrate that by looking at my east elevation. I can see level 1 and level 2 is 10 feet distance. Let's go back to the level 1 floor plan. To start, click your Architecture tab, go to the Stair drop-down, and choose Stair by Sketch. Make note of the ribbon to the right. There are 3 options now for Stair by Sketch: Run, Boundary, and Riser. Make sure Run is selected, and in the Draw Tool area, choose Center Ends Arc. This is going to allow us to produce a circular pattern for our staircase. Go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Now the point you pick is the center of your staircase. So just pick any point on your screen and then drag your mouse. Go ahead and zoom in as well. So let's assume now our staircase is going to be 3 feet wide. So therefore the shaft or the opening in the middle of the spiral would be 3 feet as well, because the radius would be 1'6". So let's just go ahead and use this. So drag your mouse till you see a dimension of 3 feet, and then click a point to the right horizontally from the first point you chose. Once you do that, you'll see the outline of the spiral staircase created. Now drag your mouse around the spiral staircase, and as you do, you'll see the riser count go up and the remaining count go down until you get beyond the end of the actual outline of the spiral staircase. Once you're beyond the outline of the end, simply left-click and it places the spiral staircase. Now, because we created this by sketch, you can actually modify the boundary condition. For example, let's say the distance here in the middle was too wide. You could click this inner circle, it would produce a dimension, and then you could key in your new value for that dimension. It would update the staircase. Likewise, you can change the radius of the outside dimension or boundary line if you wanted. Last step is to exit the edit mode. Go ahead and click the green check mark. This will actually create the spiral staircase, including the railings. To see this in 3D, once your staircase is created, go to your default 3D view. And if you zoom in and pan around, you can actually see the staircase is created based on the geometry that you keyed in. Let's go ahead and take a little look at this in another method of creating a spiral staircase that has a landing. So let's go back to the floor plan for level 1. Go ahead and zoom out and pan the existing spiral staircase to the left. I'm going to create a new one to the right. Now, when you're designing spiral staircases or other staircases, you may have walls, you may have other elements surrounding the actual area that you're going to create these staircases in. So therefore, you could snap to those or use them as a reference. You also can create reference lines or reference planes. For example, I'm on the Architecture tab. All the way to the right in the Work Plane area is Reference Plane. This would allow me to create reference lines or planes that I could snap to as guidelines. They don't show up as part of the model, but they're here for reference. So go ahead and click Reference Plane. Now on the right side of my screen, I'm just going to draw a horizontal reference line. And then after I do that, I'm going to make another line, but I'm going to make it vertical. So I'm just going to click another point and drag a vertical reference line. And then to get out of my reference line command, just hit the escape key twice. Now again, these are just here as a reference. You don't see these in the model. Now let's go ahead and start our stair command again. Make sure we're on the Architecture tab, go to the stair dropdown, and choose Stair by Sketch. Again, make sure Run is selected, and in the Draw area, choose Center Ends Arc. Then select the center point of your staircase, which is going to be the point at which the two reference lines intersect. And then drag your mouse to the right along the reference line. And you see you can snap to that now. Before you didn't have that. And roughly move out till you have this dimension about 3 feet. Doesn't have to be exact here in this case. Once you have 3 feet and you're snapped to the horizontal reference line, or near it if you will, go ahead and click. And then drag your mouse around and you'll see the actual number of risers being created. Drag until you have 7 risers created and 11 remaining. Once you have that count, go ahead and left click. Now what you've actually done is created one run. What you'll do next is click a second point where you want the spiral staircase to continue. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out, and I'm just going to move out a little distance from where I was. Now, this second point that I'm going to pick, again, is going to be the center of my spiral staircase. So I'm going to move down into the left. And you can actually see I have some reference geometry showing up here. You don't technically have to use that. I'm just showing the capability if you wanted to. So I'm just going to drag out. I'm going to pick another point. After I pick that point, again, I'm going to be questioned with what is the actual radius, again, out to the center of my staircase. What I'm going to do is try to align these up a little bit. A little difficult since I don't have any reference lines, so I'm just kind of eyeing the actual placement. So again, I'll make sure this is 3 feet. I'll click. And then I'm going to drag my mouse around again until I go beyond the actual length of that spiral segment. When you're beyond that and the riser count remaining is 0, go ahead and left click. And what you see is you have 2 spiral stairs with a landing in the middle created. Now again, since I'm in the sketch mode, you can actually modify the boundaries. So I can come in and change the boundary line. I can delete a boundary line, create a new one. I can change the geometry. I can change the actual dimension. For right now, though, we're just going to leave this as is. So go ahead and click the green check mark. Again, the spirals will create, the landing will create. It'll also attach a railing since the railing is turned on by default. Now you may get a little message stating the railings can't be created in certain areas based on the geometry that you created. Let's go ahead and click the X on that for now. Now to see this in 3D view, go to your default 3D view and pan around and you'll actually notice you have your spiral staircase with a landing in the middle. So these are just 2 examples of how to create spiral staircases based on sketching and the different capabilities that go along with that. Up next, we'll look at creating different spiral staircases and straight run staircases. In this lesson, we'll cover modifying stairs by modifying their sketches. So the stair in your Revit model was created based on the stair sketch technique. Therefore, we sketch boundary lines and riser lines. We're going to modify those boundary and riser lines. So to start, let's go to your level 1 floor plan. Go ahead and zoom in around the staircase if it's zoomed out. Once zoomed in, click the stair, and then on the ribbon, choose Edit Sketch. So I'll take you into the editing mode of the staircase. Again, since it was created by a sketch, we see boundary lines and riser lines. On your ribbon, click Boundary. For the Drawing Line tool, select Start and Radius Arc. And we're going to add a little flare to the bottom of the actual staircase. So go ahead and zoom in, and about 3 or 4 risers up, go ahead and click a point. This will be the starting point of our curved or our arc line. And then drag your mouse out till we have 45 degrees in line with the bottom line and the point you just picked. Go ahead and click that. Then after you click that, drag your mouse back so we have a nice curve coming out from that point we first clicked, and then click again. Now you're still in the line segment. Go ahead and hit the escape key at this point. Now you could mirror this line over to the other side if you wanted to, assuming we had a mirror plane, or you can simply just draw another one. You're still within the same arc tool, so go ahead and click a point, come out 135 degrees in line with the bottom line, click that point, and then drag back until we have a nice curve, and then click. Lastly, click the escape key twice to get out of that command. Now, we have to actually clean up the boundaries, so we have to trim off the old boundaries. So let's use the Trim tool. Go ahead and select Trim. The cutting edge will be one of the curves, and then choose the piece of the straight line that you want to keep. Repeat the process on the other side. Select the curve, and then select the part of the straight line you want to keep. Now that'll extend our actual boundary lines, also extend the actual riser lines. But we also want to modify the riser lines. So let's choose Riser now on your ribbon. And also, let's change the draw line to the Start and Radius Arc. Now let's create a few curves for our riser lines. We're going to start by clicking both endpoints of the 2 arcs we just created and add a little curve to this. Again, the degree, angle, and the distance doesn't really matter. Go ahead and click. Now let's go up to the riser line right above that, click its endpoints, and drag down and add a little bit of a curve to it. Do the same thing to the riser above it, add a little curve, and then finally to the riser above that, just a slight curve, if you will. You may have to zoom in to actually see this. And then hit the escape key twice to get out of that line command. Last step here is to delete the original horizontal risers. So go ahead and select those. If you hold the control key down, you can select all 4 at once, and then hit your delete key. So what we've actually modified inside of this sketch are the boundary lines, which are in green, and the riser lines, which are in black. Now there is a railing attached to this. Based on the railing type, you may get a message stating that it cannot connect at certain end conditions. For this example, that would be okay. So let's go ahead and click the green check mark. The stair will regenerate, and there was no warnings. Now let's look at this in 3D. Go to your default 3D view. And now what you're going to see, that straight run stair, which was straight and rather boring, now has a little detail applied to the bottom. And you can come back in and change the other boundary lines and the other riser lines if you wanted to as well. Now, a few other things to modify within the staircase, not necessarily with the sketch, with the actual stair itself. If you want to change the stringer types, if you want to change the material. Since this is a sketch-based stair, the menu actually looks a little different. So go ahead and click the stair, and then over in the property area on the left, click Edit Type. And then scroll down. You see you have an area for materials and finishes. You could switch your material here by clicking on By Category. The little icon on the right with 3 buttons appears. Click it, and you now could choose a different material for your stair. If you wanted to change the filter, you could hit the drop down and select wood, for example, and then choose oak flooring if you wanted oak flooring, and then go ahead and click OK. You can do the same for the other 2 if you want. If you scroll down a little more, you'll have settings for your actual risers and stringers. This is where you can change the actual different types of dimensions for the thicknesses. Also, you can change the treads and also the profile. Down on the stringer area, though, we can change the actual stringers from being closed to open. So I'm just going to change the one on the right and the one on the left to be open profiles. You can add middle stringers if you want. Right now the count is 0. You can set that to 1, 2, or any other number you want. You can also change the various different dimensions for your stringers. Go ahead and click Apply. By doing so, and then clicking OK, what you'll notice is the end condition of the actual stringers changes. So it sits actually below the actual treads, and the material for the treads updates to an oak finish material. You can also change the risers to sit behind or above the actual treads. Up next, we'll look at modifying the railing. In this lesson, we'll look at adding railings and also modifying railings to existing stairs. So in your 3D model, you have a railing on one side of your staircase, but not on the other side. Just to illustrate this, if you want to delete a railing, all you have to do is simply click the railing and then choose Delete. Now, to recreate the railings, you have two methods, one by sketch and one by host. Since we have the actual staircase, that represents the host, so we'll attach the railings to the host. Railing by sketch would be used, for example, if you want to create a railing on a balcony, horizontal to a floor plane. Let's create a railing on the staircase. I'm going to go to my floor plan level 1, zoom in around your stair, then go to the Architecture tab, click the Railing drop-down, and choose Place on Host. Now, the first thing you'll see on the ribbon on the very right is a selection for treads or stringer. This is where do you want to attach the actual railing to. We're going to leave it set to treads. We can modify this a little later as well. Secondly, what type of railing do you want to attach? In the property area on the left, you can hit the drop down and we'll choose guardrail pipe as our example that we'll use for this railing. Lastly, it's simply select the host, or in this case, the staircase. And Revit understands the right and the left side, and it will place the railings accordingly. To see this, let's go to your three-dimensional view, and you can actually view the railing now that's placed on the staircase. Now, let's look at modifying the railing. For example, maybe you don't want the railing going all the way to the bottom. Also, maybe you want to add an additional amount of posts or balusters, or you want to modify the actual rails. So you can make the modifications in 2D or 3D. Let's go back though to the level 1 2D floor plan. Select the railing on the right, and we're just going to modify it. With it selected, let's change the path. So on the ribbon, choose Edit Path. And what you see is a magenta line. The magenta line represents the actual path of the railing. This path has to be continuous. Therefore, you can't automatically update the right and the left railing sketches because they're two different lines. They're not continuous. Let's modify this path. Go ahead and select the curved part of the actual railing sketch, and then actually grab the end point and drag that up one riser, and then click off. You can also delete the line segment and draw a new line segment using your draw tools. However, we just foreshortened this. So with the sketch modified, go ahead and click the green check mark. The railing now is foreshortened. If you go back to your 3D view, you'll see it comes up short. Now, if you want to modify the railing itself, again, you can do this from 3D or from the 2D plan view. Select the railing on the right, and then in the property area on the left, choose Edit Type. And we're going to make modifications to the type of the railing. So as I said before in earlier exercises, if you make any modifications to any type, the best practice is to duplicate a type and create a new one. So click Duplicate and give your new type a new name. I'm simply typing the word new after my guardrail pipe. Click OK. Now, we want to change some of the different elements for what we're creating. For example, maybe the baluster placement. Maybe we need more or less balusters. So to the right of baluster placement, click Edit. And what you'll see here is a bunch of settings of how the balusters are created. Also the baluster types, meaning round or square, the families they come from. In the very top area, though, you have a distance from previous for the baluster setting. Right now they're set at 4 feet. Change that to 2 feet, and then click OK. To see this then in your Revit model, click OK again. And what updates now, for this individual railing, we have additional balusters created. Let's select a railing again. Once again, choose Edit Type from the properties. We don't have to duplicate this because it's already duplicated. And now let's select Railing Structure and choose Edit to the right of it. What we're looking at here are all of the railings. You can see there's 7 rails produced, and the height from the ground level up is listed in height. Also the profile, it's a circular handrail, and you can change the material if you want. If you wanted to add an additional rail, you can insert one. If you wanted to remove a rail, you can highlight one and click delete. For example, I'm going to remove rail 4 and also rail 5. Click apply and then click OK. Click OK again and you'll see your railing updates. And you can repeat the same process to the railing on the left. When you create new stairs, whether you're creating a new stair based on component or based on sketch, you have the ability to add the railings at that point. For example, go to your level 1 floor plan, go to the stair dropdown, and for this example, just choose stair by sketch. Now, without sketching anything, just click on the railing button all the way to the right on your ribbon. These are the settings for the railing. You have a default style and then all of the other railing styles you can choose from. You also have the position of how it's attached to the stair, treads or stringers. So right now, the stair would be created with a default railing type and the railings would sit on the treads. Go ahead and cancel this and then X out of this. Lastly, let's go back to your 3D view and let's look at the position of where this actual railing sits relative to the end of the stair. Go ahead and zoom in. Click your railing again, and if you wanted to push the railing in from the edge or move it closer to the edge, you can actually modify the tread stringer offset value in the property box on the left. Right now it's set to 1 inch. Just to emphasize this, I want to change this value to 3 inches. So just click 3 inches, click apply, and you'll actually see the railing move. You could also key in negative values here too if you wanted the railing to move in the opposite direction. Now all of these settings can be applied to the railing on the opposite side as well.